Far away in Lang Lang Mountain, there are no all-powerful gods from myths, just a bunch of monster wage slaves slogging their hearts out to get by, just like us. Our hero, Little Pig Demon, is your run-of-the-mill, bottom-rung employee. No awesome magic, no fancy connections. His only goal is to land a permanent gig at the Great King Cave Corporation. He slaved away for 3 long years chasing the stream, stuck with the crappiest job every single day, scrubbing the company's massive bronze cauldrons with his own bristles as a brush. And guess what? The cauldron's cleanliness is his KPI. You heard that right. He's even sacrificing his fur to avoid getting the axe. That late-night grind, that mad dash to hit targets, doesn't it remind you of yourself when you're working your tail off?
The rules here are exactly like any modern office. Bear Instructor is that stuck-up middle manager who barks orders but never lifts a finger, chewing out underlings the second they slip up. Wolf Supervisor is the KPI-obsessed enforcer who threatens to fire you if you don't meet the quota. As for Little Pig Demon and his crew, they're just replaceable peons who could get canned any time. They don't even have the right to complain. To make things worse, Little Pig Demon pulled an all-nighter scrubbing a cauldron and accidentally rubbed off the inscriptions left by the Great King's ancestors. He's royally ticked off his top boss, and now he's staring down the barrel of getting fired, or even getting hunted down. But the most heartwarming part is Little Pig Demon's family. Mom always packs his bag full of his favorite pastries and fruits. Every phone call she repeats the same caring lines. Drink more water, don't push yourself too hard, take care of yourself. His quiet, man-of-few-words dad never lectures him, but late at night, he secretly teaches him life-saving tricks, how to hide from danger, how to fight back.
When Little Pig Demon hits rock bottom, he meets Toad Demon, another workplace washout who got canned for being clumsy and now drifts around aimlessly. The two losers team up and hatch a crazy plan, pretend to be Tang Monk and his disciples to go fetch the sacred scriptures. They don't want to be heroes, and they don't care about the holy scriptures. They just want to find a way out, to break free from Lang Lang Mountain's corporate prison. This episode is a mirror held up to every ordinary person's life. We bust our guts to live and work, yet we're always teetering on the edge of breakdown. We crave recognition and kindness, but reality keeps knocking us down hard. Even so, we never give up, just like Little Pig Demon, who finds a new path even when all doors seem closed. That courage to keep loving life after seeing how cruel it can be transcends borders and races. It's the grit deep in the bones of anyone who's trying their best. Life was never meant to be a smooth ride, but this stubborn refusal to bow to fate will eventually cut through the fog and light our way forward. Those seemingly clumsy attempts, that all-or-nothing courage, they're the strongest weapons ordinary folks have to fight mediocrity and stand up to reality.
The Little Pig Demon and Toad Demon's fake journey to the West scheme ran into trouble right out of the gate. The original Tang Monk and his disciples were a 4-man team, but they only had 2 people, nowhere near enough to pull off the act. To make matters worse, one was weak and the other was dumb. If they actually ran into trouble, they couldn't even protect themselves. Just as the two were moping around, 2 new partners showed up on their own, forming the most unreliable fake Pilgrim crew in history. First up was the Weasel spirit, a total chatterbox, so talkative that he got on people's nerves. He came off as sleazy and cunning, but he was full of survival tricks. He knew where to find food, where the dangers lurked, and could even use his wits to escape enemies. He was just like those friends in our lives who seem flaky but always come through in a pinch. Then there was the gorilla monster, tall and bulky, looking super intimidating, but actually timid and introverted, even more cowardly than a mouse. He'd cry at the drop of a hat over trivial stuff, but he had raw brute strength. When push came to shove, he could muster up the courage to step up to the plate.
And just like that, the 4 unremarkable little guys were all assembled. The gluttonous pig demon got roped into playing Zubaji. The pale, scrawny toad demon forced himself to be Tong San Zong. The relatively quieter Weasel spirit filled in as Sha Wu Jing, and the tallest gorilla monster was stuck with the role of Sun Wukong. They had no magic powers, no connections, not even half-decent gear, just a tattered alms bowl that leaked rice, a patched-up monk's robe, and a stick masquerading as the golden cudgel. Their first trial on the pilgrimage was being hunted down by the Cave Lord gang. Their ruse as Tong Monk and his disciples blew up fast, and the Cave Lord, furious at being humiliated, ordered his men to capture them for severe punishment. Defenseless, the four little demons had to run for their lives, from the forest to the valley, from dawn till dusk, looking utterly pathetic the whole way. As they fled, they went from suspecting and bickering with each other to being forced to cooperate. The Weasel spirit used his wits to divert the pursuers. The gorilla monster, scared out of his wits, still screwed up his courage and held the line, and the pig demon and toad demon scrambled to figure out their escape route.
The funniest yet most touching part was when they stumbled into a remote village. The village had long been plagued by demons, and the villagers lived in abject misery. When they heard that Tong Monk and his disciples were passing through, they thought the heavens had sent saviors. They flooded out to greet them with food and water, kowtowing and begging for help, their eyes brimming with hope. Looking at the villagers' sincere smiles and hearing the kids shout, "Thank you, immortals," the four little demons hesitated for the first time. They had only meant to fake being heroes to scrounge a meal, but now these strangers were pinning all their hopes on them. Could they really just turn and run? The toad demon tugged the pig demon aside secretly. "Let's bolt! We're not heroes at all! We can't save them!" But as the pig demon looked into the kid's innocent eyes, he thought of his own family. If his loved ones were in danger, he'd pray for someone to stand up for them too. At that moment, something shifted quietly in all four of them. They stopped just thinking about saving their own skins and started wondering if they could actually do something meaningful. This story tells us there are no born heroes. Most of us are just ordinary, run-of-the-mill nobodies. But it's these seemingly insignificant people who, when they stick together and support each other, can unleash incredible strength. The friends you think are flaky, the ones you used to look down on, they might just be the ones who have your back when you need it most.
The faux pilgrimage team was starting to make a name for themselves as they drifted from village to village. Despite having zero real talent, they kept bumbling into solving local headaches, like chasing off thieving rat demons or finding lost toddlers. As more people mistook them for the legendary monk and his disciples, the four monsters started getting a taste for being respected and needed. But the honeymoon ended when they hit Little Lion Temple. The temple was home to a Buddha, who the locals worshipped as an all-powerful savior. However, the four monsters quickly realized something was fishy. This Buddha had a sinister glint in his eye, a creepy vibe, and the faint sound of children sobbing echoed through the halls. After some sneaking around, they uncovered the dark truth. The Buddha was an impostor, a demon named Yellow Brows. He had snatched a dozen local kids, planning to drain their essence to power up his dark cultivation. The villagers, still completely in the dark, kept praying for their children's safety. Watching those hopeful faces and hearing the kids' agonizing cries, the four monsters knew the score. Yellow Brows was on a whole different level. They couldn't even handle a low-level grunt, let alone a boss like him. Taking him on was a suicide mission, plain and simple. But the little pig demon couldn't just walk away. Seeing the helpless look in the children's eyes, he thought of his own younger siblings. If they were snatched, he'd do anything to save them. "We might be monsters, but that doesn't mean we have to be evil," he said, his voice steady. "Even as a fake team, we can't just stand by and watch kids get hurt." Then, something nobody expected happened. The gorilla, the resident coward who always ran at the first sign of trouble, stepped up. His fists were clenched and his voice was shaky, but his resolve was ironclad. "I'm done running. I want to see what it feels like to protect someone." The ensuing battle wasn't some epic display of flashy magic or flying deities. It was gritty, raw, and visceral. The pig took command, using his knowledge of the terrain to coordinate sneak attacks. The toad, though weak, used his wits to run circles around Yellowbrow's lackeys. The weasel was a blur of agility, using his street smarts to strike at the demon's weak points. And the gorilla? He was the tank. He took the brunt of every heavy blow, standing his ground and refusing to budge even when he was covered in bruises. They poured every ounce of their strength and exhausted their entire life force to finally bring Yellowbrows down and rescue the children. But victory came at a steep price. Having burnt through their magical essence, their human-like forms began to fade. They slowly reverted to their true animal selves. The pig's ears flopped back to their massive size, the toad's skin turned slick, the weasel's tail popped out, and the gorilla's limbs returned to their original hairy state. To their shock, they later found out that Yellowbrows was actually an acolyte of Maitreya Buddha. The whole charade, the fake temple, the kidnapped kids, was just a manufactured trial designed to test the real pilgrims on their grand quest. It turned out the four monsters were nothing more than tiny pawns in a grand cosmic play. Even their life and death struggle had been scripted by the powers that be. To honor these four unsung heroes, the villagers came together to build a humble shrine on the outskirts of town. Every day, locals stop by to pay their respects with food and fresh flowers, and the children look up to the statues as their own personal superheroes. The most touching part came when the real monk and his disciples finally passed through. When Sun Wukong, the monkey king, heard the story, he did something unexpected. Known for being notoriously arrogant and dismissive of almost everyone, Wukong fell silent for a long time. He quietly visited the shrine and left one of his enchanted hairs on each statue. These hairs were his ultimate lifesaver charms, powerful magic that could save someone from the brink of death. That hair was more than just a magical treasure. It was a nod of respect from a legend to ordinary folks, a sign that the world's outcasts were finally being accepted into the fold. It's a reminder that even if you're a nobody with no world-shaking achievements, as long as you hold on to your kindness and keep moving forward, the world will eventually treat you with the gentleness you deserve.